Hello, everyone, and welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley in Medford, Oregon. I'm Kimberly Hawkins, the spiritual director here, and we're so grateful you decided to join us for our Sunday celebration. We are a welcoming and inclusive spiritual community dedicated to teaching spiritual tools to transform personal lives and help make a world that works for everyone. With me this morning is Reverend Dr. Linda Rapond, who will be doing our invocation and reading. And our musicians this morning are Anton Miserak and Laura Berryhill, and we go to them now for our opening song. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
And our opening song is by a friend of ours, Michael Gott.
Let's, from that quiet place, open this service with prayer. So in whatever way you do that, with your eyes closed, with your eyes with a soft focus, eyes open, doesn't matter, but just turn within. As we welcome our awareness of that infinite presence that was already here, is always here, in, around, through, and as us. By whatever name we call it, I call it God. That presence is here, right now, infusing me, infusing each of us with its divine essence, which is only love, only peace, only wholeness. So I give such thanks for this opportunity to come together in consciousness, in visual proximity or not. We are connected At very source level, we are deeply connected to each other. And so we come together in this service, and I bless this time together. I know that each of us receives that which our soul is asking for, that all flows easily, effortlessly, smoothly for this service and in the hearts and minds and beings of each of us. For we are so, so blessed, deeply blessed. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. We're going to do a different kind of reading this morning. I've been in so many conversations in the last several weeks about the coming election, the sense of divisiveness that seems to be pervasive around us. And so many people like me have been asking, what is mine to do? Where do I stand in all of this? What is the place that I want to stand? And my friend and colleague, Dr. Jim Lockard, wrote a series of affirmations, which he calls My Affirmations to Guide Me Intentionally and Wisely Through This Political Season. So I just want to share these with you because they really are helping to ground me. Number 1, I only post to social media things that speak to what I'm for, and only in a way that does not denigrate anyone else or their beliefs, remembering that disagreement is not denigration. I only post things that I have researched and reasonably believe to be accurate, not just anything that appears to justify my position. I scroll right by any negative or degrading post about any candidate, whether they're my candidate or not. I am not responsible for changing anyone's mind. I speak my truth in political discussions, but I monitor my emotional self and stay in a sense of love, appreciation, and compassion. If I depart an online or an offline political discussion because it devolves into name-calling or other negativity, I will share the following. I am leaving this discussion for my own well-being, as I choose to be in a place of discourse where all parties are treated with respect. I study the candidates and the issues, using as many sources as possible, including those that have different opinions than my own. I am accountable for what I post and how or whether I vote. I choose to participate in the political process. I support that which is closest to what I believe in. I hold the highest possible vision for the governance of the world, my nation, my state, and my local community. I remain open-minded and willing to give up a position when there is sufficient evidence to the contrary, or when my intuitive knowing clearly points in a different direction. I do my spiritual practices every day to reinforce my success at living up to these affirmations. Thank you.
Good morning. We're going to do a song from 1848 that we still think has some relevant message for today.
Ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shall not be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round. Simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shall not be ashamed. To turn, turn shall be our delight, till by turning and turning we come round, round.
Thank you so much, Laura and Anton. It is indeed a gift to be simple. And thank you to Dr. Linda for that very important reminder of how we can navigate our way through this contentious election season. We've been talking all month about abundance, about prosperity, using our book of the month called The Prosperous Heart, Creating a Life of Enough by Julia Cameron. So creating a prosperous heart, nurturing a prosperous heart, sustaining a prosperous heart, meaning we are aware of the infinite abundance that is God's gift to us in this life. We are aware of our connection to everyone else. And as I talked about last week, we are aware that it is indeed a friendly universe. The most important question we talked about last week is whether or not we believe that, because how we believe is what we experience. So today, continuing in our book, there's a chapter 4 called Cleaning House. And I had fun with the title this morning of my message. It's called Vacuuming and Decorating, in parentheses, Important Spiritual Practices. And you may be saying, seriously, what do vacuuming and decorating have to do with attracting abundance into my life? And what the heck are vacuuming and decorating have to do with spirituality? And my answer to that would be pretty much everything. Now, how I started on this idea of vacuuming is due to the recent fires, the devastating fires here in Southern Oregon. Many people, of course, losing their homes. We were fortunate in that our home is intact, but we've been dealing, as I imagine everyone else has been, with this settling out of fallout, if you will, this fine dust from all the ash that was in the air. We had hazardous air quality for more than a week here. And so I've been vacuuming more than needed, not more than needed, but more than usual. And I don't see a lot of litter and stuff on the carpet that allows me to know it needs to be vacuumed. But when I do vacuum, I get this fine dust that I collect in the receptacle and get rid of. And it reminded me of a statement that a lot of metaphysical teachers have used when they talk about attracting abundance, which is the universe or nature abhors a vacuum. Now, that doesn't mean that nature abhors the vacuum cleaner, but it abhors a vacuum. I mean, think about it. If you have a container that's vacuum packed and you open it, air rushes in. And it's a law of physics. And it's also a metaphysical law when it comes to circulating, that if we're hoarding and hanging on to things we're not using, that we no longer need, or that are more than we need, we're stopping up the flow of good in general. So just as we vacuum ash from our homes or vacuum, dirt from the carpet, I think we need to think about collecting and discharging, getting rid of things, other things that either don't serve us or maybe are even harmful to us. And I think this applies to both house cleaning our physical residence and also house cleaning our mental atmosphere. So it could be, false beliefs that we collected when we were younger. It could be limiting ideas, worn out ideas that are no longer serving us. So in the book of the month, Julia Cameron writes, nothing impedes the flow of money like physical clutter. Isn't that interesting? Nothing impedes the flow of money like physical clutter. So she recommends a practice of going through the house. And you've probably heard about practices like this before. And I imagine some of you are bigger collectors and have more clutter in your life than others. Some of us are pretty clean. That doesn't apply to me. And I often use the excuse that I'm artistic, and so the artist in me doesn't mind some clutter around. But the fact is, clutter is not the most helpful thing to live with. So what Cameron recommends is you set a timer for 15 minutes, and the first pass through your house or your apartment, you throw away anything that's on surfaces that you don't need anymore. If there's a collection of papers or ads or whatever it is. And then she says, set a timer for 15 minutes and tackle the junk drawer in the kitchen. Anybody have one of those that isn't maybe necessarily so organized at this point? Or tackle a closet or a drawer or even the basement or the attic. Now, those things are going to take maybe some more time. And Cameron says it's not about progress so much as it's not about perfection so much as it is progress. So little by little. So I've been practicing what I am preaching this week, and I tackled my 2 closets, and it was quite the affair. I actually put 52 items of clothing into my car, and I'm deciding how I might circulate it either to where it's needed or it's all stuff that is still in decent shape. And I got to tell you, I have a lighter feeling as I wake up this morning. There's some clarity in my mind. I think physical clutter tends to create clutter in the head and vice versa. I think sometimes when we're upset or preoccupied or cluttered in our thinking, we tend to allow clutter to accumulate around us. So that clearing out process is really a freeing one. And when I look in my closet now, things are neat. My tops are arranged, by color and stacked up neatly. And I know that what's in the closet fits me, suits me, and is in good shape. So it's really lovely. And I'm committed to continuing this process for the next few weeks to get to all the places of my house. Cameron tells an interesting story in the book. It's about a college professor named Taylor. He teaches at an Ivy League school. He's brilliant. He's a beloved teacher. He's well respected and admired in his educational circles. But his office and his classroom are kind of a mess. They're just cluttered with papers and books and stuff that he has not sorted. And every year it kind of gets worse and worse and worse. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. Fortunately, I've moved every few years, and it allows me to clean stuff up. Anyway, Taylor kind of passes this off as, he's a absent-minded professor, and people joke with him about it, and he's not real embarrassed. He just kind of good-naturedly laughs along with them. Well, one day, the department gets a notice from the dean of the school saying the school's been looking for a new president, and their potential boss is going to be visiting each department. So he advises people to please be prepared in every way. And Taylor thinks, the next call is probably going to be for the dean telling me to clean up my act because it's embarrassing. So he sets about the task of clearing his clutter. 2 days and 12 trash bags later, it's done. And he looks around and he's tickled. It feels good. He takes pictures and he sends them to his wife, Irma, who shares them with a friend, and everybody's kind of laughing and celebrating. But his wife's friend says to her, be aware, this is kind of an epiphany. You may see some changes in him. That's kind of an interesting comment, isn't it? That when we clear clutter, there's going to be deeper, more profound changes. And sure enough, Taylor looked a little sad one day right after all this happened, and so his wife prodded him to talk about what was going on. He said, I'm feeling guilty. All those years I had all that clutter. My students, so many of them have said to me, I can think more easily, I can function better in the clear space that you've provided for us now. And he said, I could function with the clutter, but not everybody can. And the truth is, I'm actually able to think more clearly now than I was before. And I feel bad that I didn't do it earlier. So there was an epiphany. There was kind of a spiritual awakening for Taylor. And Julia Cameron writes, his neat and tidy and beautified environment now reflects back his brilliance. And I love that. Beauty and order are God qualities. They're qualities of the divine. And when we have beautiful things around us, neat and tidy and orderly, it does reflect back to us the goodness that God is, the bounty that God is. Oddly enough, I think when we simplify things, as Laura and Anton sang about, it's an upliftment for us. Yes? Now, the other thing about clutter, we can think about the relationships in our life as well. And I hate to use the word clutter, but in terms of uplifting who we associate with, Julia Cameron writes about the believing mirrors. Who are the people in our lives who are believing mirrors? In other words, who are the people who reflect back to us, just as a neat and orderly environment reflects back our brilliance and our goodness? Who are the people who believe in us, who stand with us, who believe that our desires and our aspirations and our visions can and will come true? And who are, as one speaker recently talked about, who are the negaholics in our life? Now, this doesn't mean that we diss people. I love the reading Reverend Linda did. Even when we disagree with people or we don't want to spend time with people, we know they're God's children and we respect them and we treat them with kindness. But that doesn't mean we need to hang out with them a lot. That doesn't mean that someone who we allow to bend our ear and we leave the conversation feeling depleted, that it's necessarily a good thing for them or us to stay in that kind of relationship, spending that much time with somebody. So I think the vacuuming and the clearing out applies to physical things in our environment. It applies to thoughts and beliefs in our mental environment. And it also applies to who is our inner circle. Who are the people we choose to spend the most time with? Now, right now, we're probably not talking about spending time in person, are we? But who are the people we tend to be on a Zoom call with or on the phone with or socially distanced? It's a good thing to be thoughtful about. Catherine Ponder, beautiful prosperity minister and writer, said, "When you begin moving out of your life things you do not want, you automatically are attracting things in that you do want. You're making room for what you do want." She said, by letting go of the lesser, we automatically make room for the greater to come in. I love that. So, trash bags, cleaning out. The one last thing I wanted to say about vacuuming and cleaning out is resentment. Any feelings of revenge, any feelings of being victimized. The practice of forgiveness is really a vacuuming practice too, isn't it? Moving out those feelings and coming to a place of equanimity and understanding that we have power to create what we want in life and we're not a victim of anybody else's actions. Clearing out the emotions if we need to at the same time. Now, the second part of my title, remember, was vacuuming and decorating. So what the heck do I mean by decorating? Well, anybody that knows me knows I like to decorate the home. We were just talking about Christmas coming. I love to decorate for Christmas, and I recently got out my fall decorations, so pumpkins and gourds and fall leaves, and I have an arrangement on my mantelpiece and on my hearth in the fireplace in the family room, and I have fall decorations, a wreath, fall wreath on the door and a pumpkin and so on. And for me, it's a happy thing. When I see beauty, I'm reminded of the gorgeous fall weather. Fall is one of my favorite seasons. It was my mom's favorite season, and it reminds me of her. So I've been decorating lately. So how does this apply to spirituality, and how does this apply to the idea of prosperity? Again, I think it's making those choices to decorate, if you will, our life with those people, those thoughts, and those things that uplift us. One of the things that I've realized lately, I am a news podcast junkie. I find it helpful to be abreast of what's going on and to be informed, and I think that's fine. But there comes a point when I need to decorate my mental atmosphere with more uplifting things, right? And so Reverend Dr. Linda, my buddy here, recently turned me on to a podcast called Evolving Faith. And it's a podcast that it's Christian oriented, but it's also affirming and welcoming of other faiths. It's somewhat progressive, even though there are evangelical preachers on there. They're progressive. They are not one idea political, they're not voting one idea in the political arena. They're about making a world that works for everyone. And so that's just one example, of plugging into music or uplifting messages, movies, and so on, so that we can decorate our mental atmosphere with truth and with inspiration. The same goes, as I mentioned earlier, for the relationships in our life. I love that idea. Now, this brings me to the idea of community. I think many of us have been feeling that our lives are not decorated enough with people that we can hug and touch and commune with and go out to eat with. And so I want to remind you that we're doing the best we can in our community to provide opportunities where we can be in touch, where we can communicate. So a reminder that at 1 p.m. each Sunday now after the talk, we're tuning into a community social hall Zoom session so we can just catch up with each other, see each other's faces without masks, maybe talk about what we're doing if we're following the prosperity practices that I'm offering this month. And following that just check-in time and catch-up social time, at 1:45, a group of us will be adjourning to a chat room where we can have a book study on the prosperous heart, creating a life of enough, and share with each other the practices that we're doing. By the way, you don't have to be caught up in the book, or you don't even have to have purchased the book to join that chat session if you'd like to, because I think sharing those ideas, I don't know, there's something special about reading a book, digesting it, putting in the practices into our lives, and sharing it. And we get ideas from each other, and we're uplifted from each other. So I'm just inviting you in any way you can. I know that my sister-in-law, Deborah, has created a family chat on a family Zoom call on Sunday afternoon, but just encouraging you to create ways to be connected. And I know all of us are thinking about that these days. In terms of relationships, just a couple more things. Isn't it wonderful when we have reciprocal relationships? Relationships where there's a give and a take, where someone's willing to listen as well as to talk and process things with you. And so I think that it's good to think about those things. Who are the people that uplift us, give us energy? And at the same time, there's nothing wrong with mentoring and serving and being in a relationship perhaps with a younger person where we're really giving more than we're getting. But in a way, if we're helping somebody to step into who they truly are when we're empowering them, that in itself is fulfilling. So I think that's kind of a touchstone, if you will, about what are the relationships that are enlivening, uplifting, bringing me again to the understanding of truth and spirituality, and what are the relationships that maybe not so much. So we get to choose. We get to choose. The other thing I think I want to mention before we wrap up is the prosperous heart loves adventure. It loves newness. And that's kind of hard right now. We're kind of limited in how much travel we can do. But to think about ways we can explore something new. Maybe it's a hike in a place that you can drive to that you haven't visited lately. Maybe it's sitting outside at a restaurant, socially distanced, where you can have a nice meal. Recently, I went with a friend named Linda Rapon to Idaho. And oh my goodness, that change of scenery was such a blessing for us. We stayed the first night in Burns, Idaho, in a teepee. Oregon, sorry, thank you. I'm glad she's here. Burns, Oregon, in a teepee, glamping. And the beauty was that there was this hot springs. It was called Crane Hot Springs, this huge outdoor pool of hot water under the stars. And so you could float at night on your back in this warm water and literally not only see the stars, but a brilliant Milky Way. It was amazing. When we got to Boise and Ketchum, one of the highlights for me was going to the botanical gardens where the Dalai Lama had been to bring a prayer wheel. And the garden was called the Garden of Infinite Compassion. and just sitting there and meditating there was such a shift in my energy. So, that adventure. In her original book, Julia Cameron wrote, The Artist's Way, she talks about doing an artist's date once a week, which means going out by yourself and doing something new, something that feeds your soul, something that feeds your creative side. So even though we're socially distanced, even though we're wearing masks, I think there are things that we can think of to do if we get creative, to feed that adventurous soul, to feed that need to see new beauty, to commune with new beings, and to have an experience that creates a prosperous heart that reminds us of the infinite bounty there is. So, my friends, I'm going to encourage us all to do some vacuuming and decorating this week, releasing what no longer serves us, bringing in those things that uplift us, creating an environment like Taylor did that reflects back our brilliance, our goodness, our deservingness, our worthiness. Let's go into prayer. So taking a deep breath. I'm recognizing that all giving presence that is Spirit, that is the Lord, whatever we call it, that one power, that one infinite life, infinite intelligence, absolute peace, knowing that prosperity, it's not just money, it is that peace that passeth understanding, that peace that is at the heart of us, that is God's peace. I know it as beauty, as order, as compassion, as love. And I know that it's everywhere present, always standing ready to give us our heart's desire. It is truly the will of God that we prosper in all areas of our life, our health, our wealth, our relationships, loving and harmonious relationships, and our self-expression, our creativity. And so I know that we can never be separate from this good that God is. And I absolutely know this week, as we become choiceful and mindful about how we spend our time, about that inner circle of believing mirrors that we choose to surround ourselves with, that perhaps in a kind way we learn to say no to those people or those events that don't feed our prosperous heart. I know as we decorate and redecorate not only our physical environment, but our mental environment with affirmations, with affirmative prayer, with thoughts and knowing of spiritual truths, letting go of that which no longer serves us, whether it's physical things, thoughts, beliefs, habits. I know as we experience this flow that we prime the pump of that law of circulation, that we, creating that vacuum, allow space for good to come in, new thoughts, new ideas, a new way to be empowered, as Taylor experienced that clarity of mind and that peace of mind that our environment reflects back to us. And I know as we clean out the closets, clean out the basement, we may well pass along things that someone else can use, that are treasures to someone else, creating the space for new to come in. Just two of the beautiful spiritual practices we're engaging in this month as we together create that prosperous heart that understands our connection, our worthiness, our oneness with divine good, divine abundance, divine peace. And so my prayer for each of us this week is that we do experience that peace that passeth understanding in the midst of a contentious election, that we choose our thoughts, that we choose our posts, that we choose kindness always, respect always for ourselves and for every other being on the planet. In great gratitude to have the opportunity to talk about these truths, to share them, and great gratitude for the call this afternoon when we can come together in community in that inner circle of believing mirrors. I release this word now into that heart of God which has heard and answered this prayer as it does all prayers already. And so we say together, and so it is. Amen. We go now to Anton and Laura once again.
What a beautiful prayer. We're going to do a song now that was written with aloha by our friend Matisha.
I see your beauty. It's all that I can see. Radiance of heaven, a light blessing me. A light blessing me. I feel your loving. It's all that sets me free. Angel of heaven, you live in me. You live in me. Give with all your heart now. Live from what you feel. Leave behind the past now. The greater plan revealed. You are the love you're seeking. Your heart lights the way. You are the love you're seeking. Many ways I can say. I see your beauty. It's all that I can see. Radiance of heaven, a light blessing me. A light blessing me. A light blessing me. A light blessing me. I see your beauty. I feel your loving. I see your beauty. I feel your loving. I see your beauty.
How beautiful. Anton and Laura, I'd like to say to you, I see your beauty. I feel your loving. Thank you so much. The prosperous heart is also a giving heart, and now is the time when we talk about conscious, sacred giving. So I'm going to invite you, if it's your week, and I hope it is, to send along a portion of the good that's come in to the places where you are spiritually fed. This is a beautiful spiritual practice. Let's metaphorically take our gifts, whatever we're passing along this week, and place them over our hearts as we say our giving affirmation. From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and bless and prosper. It is evidence of my faith and my belief. It does great work in the world, and it returns to me multiplied abundantly. There are several ways to give to Center for Spiritual Living, Rogue Valley. The old-fashioned way, of course, is to write a check, mail it to P.O. Box 1458, Medford, Oregon, 97501. You can go to our website, cslroguevalley.org, and hit the donate button. You can also donate right here on the Facebook page now. We have a button there. So, some brief announcements before we wrap this up. And I also just want to say thank you for continuing to support us. We are doing our best to help us all stay connected with each other and also stay connected to the truth that Spirit is. Also, stay connected to my being able to talk here. Some brief announcements. Again, we have morning brief spiritual practice meditation, and then just connection time. So morning coffee time, if you will. 2 days a week, Monday and Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. And we have started another one now Thursday evening at 7 p.m. These are on Zoom, and the links are in our newsletter. If you're not receiving our newsletter, you can sign up for it here on Facebook by going to email list. We are also live, by the way, now on YouTube as well as Facebook. And you can watch the recording of the service either of those places as well as on our website. I mentioned earlier we're having a virtual social hall time at 1 p.m. this afternoon and every Sunday on Zoom, followed by a book study for the prosperous heart. All are welcome to that. Finally, next week, October 25th, Karen Drucker will be with us via videotape with a beautiful message and, of course, her amazing music. So we're excited about that. And coming up in November, wrapping up our series on abundance, is none other than prosperity guru Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker, who will also be here via videotape, and you will not want to miss that. That's November 15th. So I think that wraps up our announcements. I leave you, well, let's go to Anton and Laura for our closing song, and then I'll leave you with a few more words. Here we go.
This is a song by Ricky Byers.
So triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
And as we say goodbye for now, I see your beauty, I feel your loving. And this week and always may we remember to be believing mirrors for one another. Much love. Namaste.